A man was sleeping peacefully aboard his sailboat in the middle of the ocean when a deafening crash suddenly jolted him awake. He sprang to his feet and was horrified to see seawater pouring into the boat at an alarming rate. Panicking, he searched for the source of the leak. At first, he thought the hull had cracked, but when he looked closer, he realized something far worse. A massive hole had been ripped through the side of the boat, and water was flooding in faster by the second. He rushed onto the deck to see what had hit him, but the moment he looked outside, he froze. Out of nowhere, a gigantic shipping container had drifted through the open ocean and slammed directly into his sailboat. He couldn't understand where it had come from, or how it had found him in the middle of thousands of miles of empty sea. Meanwhile, the boat was beginning to list dangerously to one side. He had no time to think. He quickly lowered the sails to reduce the strain on the damaged boat before even more water rushed inside. Then he grabbed a heavy steel pry bar from the emergency kit and wedged it between the container and the hull. Using every ounce of strength he had, he tried to force the container away, but it didn't budge. Instead, the steel bar bent under the pressure. The container hadn't moved even an inch. Every passing second meant more water flooding into the boat. If he couldn't find another solution, his sailboat would soon sink beneath the waves, taking him down with it, and no one would ever know what happened. Just when all hope seemed lost, he noticed a small opening in the side of the shipping container, and in that instant, an idea flashed through his mind. It was risky, but it might be his only chance to survive. The man immediately rushed into the storage compartment and grabbed a heavy sandbag. Then he climbed onto the shipping container and threaded a rope through the small opening he had spotted earlier. After securing the sandbag tightly, he threw it overboard. Seconds later, his plan worked. As the heavy bag sank beneath the surface, it acted like an anchor, pulling the container away from the sailboat. Finally, the container broke free, but he couldn't relax yet. He sprinted back to the helm and quickly turned the boat into the wind. Then he raised the sails again, using the breeze to rotate the damaged side above the waterline. The moment the hole cleared the surface, the flooding stopped. As the container drifted farther and farther away, he finally allowed himself a deep breath of relief. Now there was only one problem left. He had to repair the hole before the ocean claimed his boat for good. Wasting no time, he gathered his repair supplies. Mixing several chemicals together, he carefully prepared an incredibly strong marine adhesive. Then he climbed over the side of the boat and patiently began sealing the massive hole. But the repair proved far more difficult than he expected. Hours passed. Morning turned into evening, and he was still working. His legs trembled from exhaustion. Realizing he was running out of energy, he grabbed a can of food and ate as quickly as he could. It gave him just enough strength to keep going, but not enough to finish. Completely exhausted, he collapsed into his sleeping bag, deciding to continue at first light. The next morning, he got straight back to work. He applied another layer of the powerful adhesive, then carefully sealed every crack using his repair kit. After hours of painstaking work, the hole was finally watertight, but he wasn't finished yet. He cleaned every inch of the boat, inside and out, making sure everything was back in working order. Once the adhesive had fully cured, his hard work finally paid off. Against all odds, he had saved his sailboat. After hours of non-stop work, the man finally allowed himself to relax. For the first time since the accident, he sat down with a novel and took a well-earned break. Later, feeling a little more optimistic, he decided to cook himself a proper meal. But the moment he started preparing the food, something caught his eye. Water was dripping from the ceiling. That shouldn't have been possible. His heart immediately began to race. Without wasting a second, he rushed onto the deck, and what he saw made his stomach drop. The entire sky had turned black. A massive storm was racing straight toward him. He quickly threw on his rain gear and climbed back onto the deck. His first priority was lowering the sails before the wind tore the boat apart. But just as he reached them, a violent gust slammed into him, knocking him flat on the deck. Somehow, he forced himself back to his feet. Then an enormous wave crashed over the boat and swept him straight into the ocean. Suddenly, he wasn't just fighting to save the boat, he was fighting for his life. After an exhausting struggle, he somehow managed to climb back aboard. Soaked and barely able to stand, he stumbled into the cabin, hoping to recover for a few minutes. But the storm wasn't finished with him. The boat began pitching violently from side to side. Before he could brace himself, he lost his footing. His head slammed into a support beam, and everything went black. When he finally regained consciousness, his heart sank. A massive hole had been ripped through the deck. Sea Seawater was pouring inside at an incredible rate. His sailboat was moments away from sinking. There was no time to think. Battling the raging storm, he fought his way outside and climbed into his emergency life raft. Completely drained, he drifted off to sleep within minutes. When he finally woke up, the storm was gone. The ocean was calm once again. He immediately looked toward his sailboat, and to his immense relief, it was still floating. He looked at his sinking sailboat and told himself one thing: as long as the boat was still afloat, there was still hope. Maybe he could repair it one more time. But fate had other plans. As he transferred the remaining supplies into his life raft, the sailboat slowly slipped beneath the waves and disappeared forever. Just like that, it was gone. He had lost everything, but he refused to give up. As long as he was alive, there was still a chance. He pulled out his navigation charts and carefully calculated his position. Then he plotted a course toward the nearest international shipping lane. If luck was finally on his side, maybe a passing cargo ship would spot him. With his course decided, he zipped up the life raft and tried to get some sleep. He would need every bit of strength for the journey ahead, but the ocean wasn't finished with him yet. That night, the storm returned, and this time, it was even more violent than before. Trapped inside the tiny life raft, he could feel the enormous waves tossing him in every direction. Then water started leaking inside. At first, it was only a little, but within minutes, the raft began filling faster and faster. He realized that if he stayed inside, he would drown. Without hesitation, he unzipped the raft and threw himself into the raging ocean. Fighting against the massive waves, he managed to climb onto the top of the raft instead. It was the only place left where he could survive, surrounded by endless darkness, roaring winds, and relentless rain. All he could do was curl up, hold on, and pray the storm would end. But fear and exhaustion were taking their toll. Every breath became heavier. His heartbeat grew weaker. Finally, his body gave out. He lost consciousness. Sometime after midnight, he slowly opened his eyes. He couldn't believe it. He was still alive, and somehow, while drifting through the storm, his life raft had reached an international shipping lane. For the first time in what felt like forever, hope returned. Then, in the distance, he spotted something unbelievable. A massive cargo ship was passing through the shipping lane. Hope came rushing back. He jumped to his feet and immediately fired a distress flare into the night sky. Then another, and another. He was certain the crew would see him, but they didn't. One by one, every flare burned out, and the ship never slowed down. Its lights grew smaller, farther away, until they almost disappeared into the darkness. At that moment, he broke. He dropped to his knees inside the life raft. For the first time, he considered giving up, but then one terrifying thought hit him. Ships rarely pass through this part of the ocean. If he missed this one, there might not be another for months, and by then, he would almost certainly be dead. Refusing to surrender, he searched every inch of the life raft for anything that might attract attention. Then he remembered the navigation manual. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He tore the pages out one by one, crumpled them into a pile, and stuffed them inside the emergency box. Then he set them on fire. His final hope was that the flames would catch the ship's attention, but luck still wasn't on his side. The fire grew higher, while the cargo ship continued drifting farther away. Then everything went wrong. The flames spread beyond the box and quickly engulfed the entire life raft. Horrified, he grabbed the waterproof tarp and desperately tried to smother the fire, but in the struggle, he slipped and fell backward into the freezing ocean. The icy water wrapped around his body like a vice. This time, he had nothing left. Every failed rescue, every setback, every ounce of hope had finally broken him. He stopped fighting. Slowly, he began sinking beneath the surface. Exhaustion, pain, despair. They pulled him deeper into the darkness. His eyes slowly closed. He truly believed this was the end. Then, a bright light pierced the darkness. A rescue boat appeared on the surface. It looked as though they had been searching for him. Hope exploded back to life. With the last bit of strength he had left, he kicked toward the surface. Moments later, a powerful searchlight locked onto him. A rescuer reached out his hand. He grabbed it with everything he had, and after an unimaginable battle against the sea, he was finally pulled to safety. He had survived. What would you have done in his situation? Do you think you could survive this long alone at sea? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next movie. Thanks for watching.